This documentary begins not with the discovery of bodies, but with silence. In working class suburbs around Adelaide, Australia, in the late 1980s and early 1990s, people disappeared quietly. They were not famous, they were not wealthy. Many were already living on the margins of society, estranged from family, struggling with addiction, disability, or even poverty. When they vanished, few alarms were raised. That silence would become one of the most important factors in what later became known as the bodies in the Barrels murders, or the Snowtown murders. Welcome back to episode 18. Oh my god, we got over that story. Episode 18. Welcome back.
Well, well,
No, stop. Shut
over
up.
that story.
Yes. Welcome back. Thank you all for the massive amount of support. Sorry about the long wait for the actual regular episodes. It was just a really long creepypasta that I'm not gonna lie took like hour to 2 hours to read every day, and it's just for one part, and it was crazy. But
Ooh,
the whole compilation video should be down below so you can watch all of it in its entirety of like one parts 1 through 7. So go check that out. Don't forget to support the channel. Don't forget to check out the sub channels. Don't forget to check out the links down below. Leave a like and subscribe. We also got some merch if you want to go check that out. And I think once we hit 1,000, I might drop some more. So we'll figure out where that goes. But yeah, today we're gonna be talking about the bodies in the barrels, and this is
interesting name for a murder.
yes. So you what we're gonna learn today is it's very
I,
horrific.
th- I
So
I think I
viewer
can
just
put two and two together.
oh yeah. So viewer discretion advised. All right.
Think before you watch this video if you want to watch it. It might be a little gruesome.
Yeah, what he said. But yeah. Let's hop right into it.
I don't know what that was. I'm sorry.
No, it's alright. It's alright. The crimes are often associated with the year 1999, with when decomposing bodies were discovered in barrels inside an abandoned bank vault in the town of Snowtown. But the murders themselves unfolded years earlier, primarily between 1992 and 1997. To understand how so many people could have been killed without detection, we must trace the story back to the man who led it and the social conditions that allowed him to do so. John Justin Bunting was born in 1966 and grew up in a turbulent environment marked by instability and resentment. By adulthood, Bunting had developed extreme views shaped by anger, paranoia, and a rigid belief system centered on hatred of pedophiles, homosexuals, and what saw as moral corruption. These beliefs were not grounded in evidence but in obsession. He presented himself as a vigilante, someone willing to do what authorities supposedly would not. Bunting was not a criminal mastermind in the traditional sense. He had no formal power, no wealth, or and no sophisticated methods. What he did possess was influence over vulnerable people. He was charismatic in a demeanoring way, able to project certainty in moral authority, and to those around him, especially those seeking belonging or purpose, he appeared confident and righteous. So I mean, already for we're hitting the key points of every serial
Classic
unaliver, serial unaliver.
serial unaliver.
I know, yeah,
Charismatic on the outside, insecure on the inside, taking it out on other people just because other people told him to take it out on those people.
and
Classic.
able to project a certainty and moral authority. So like he has like what his beliefs
He
are in check, and like
yeah,
he's
his morals are all out of whack.
yeah. Go ahead and take over.
The most significant person drawn into Bunting's orbit was Robert Joe Wagner. Wagner was younger, socially isolated. and eager for approval. He came to see Bunting as a mentor and protector. Over time, Wagner adopted Bunting's worldview, including his belief that certain people deserve to die. Another, I probably should say unalive there.
No,
Want me to
no,
re-say
it's
that one?
alright. No, it's alright.
Okay, sorry. Uh, Another key accomplice was Mark Hayden, a seemingly ordinary man with a wife and children, who outwardly appeared functional and calm. Hayden provided some crucial access to locations, vehicles, and eventually the barrels themselves. Together, this group formed what can only be described as a closed ideological cell. They reinforced each other's beliefs, escalating from talk to action. The first known murders occurred in 1992. Victims were selected not randomly, but deliberately. Many were acquaintances, friends, or relatives of the perpetrators. This proximity allowed the unalivers to lure victims without suspicion.
So
The
once
victims.
again, we're hitting the key points where it's like this is the same case with what was the cult, the Heaven's Gate, right? Where
Mhm.
one psychopath ended up going to jail, and instead of getting the mental treatment, they meet another psychopath that didn't get the mental treatment, right? So they start, oh hey, we got a lot in familiar, and they start converging, and like they say, ideas brew, and yeah.
A lot of ideas become action too, especially with those kinds of people.
Oh yeah.
The victims shared a tragic commonality. Most were vulnerable, some were intellectually disabled, some struggled with addiction, some were estranged from family, others falsely accused of being pedophiles. An accusation that Bunting used as both justification and as a recruitment tool. In several cases, there were no evidence at all to support the claims made against them. One of the earliest victims was David Johnson, Bunting's former stepbrother. Johnson was intellectually disabled and trusted Bunting. He was tortured and unalived in 1992. His death sent a precedent. Violence was not only acceptable within the group, it was framed as moral cleansing. Man, even going as far as to unalive his own stepbrother. That's wild.
Step, man. You know what I'm saying?
It ain't blood.
Uh, as the murders continued, the methods became more ritualized. Victims were beaten, strangled, and tortured over extended periods. This was not impulsive violence, it was deliberate and sustained. After death, bodies were dismembered and placed into large plastic barrels filled with acid, designed to conceal decomposition and odor. Initially, the barrels were stored in various locations, including backyards and sheds. So this guy
They
was,
had this just out in the open.
yeah, I mean,
Well, I mean,
they were
open,
they were out in the woods.
I mean, I guess they wouldn't be able to be in someone's like backyard. It'd have to be in like the holler.
So these guys were, I would say they took heavy inspiration from Dahmer. If not, they were the first Dahmers. It was, matter of fact, it was happening right at the time of Dahmer. But,
Well, except Dahmer ate people. These guys didn't.
not
Unless
just
we
ate
learn
him.
later that he
He
ate people.
he also had acid barrels to
Oh,
decompose
gotcha,
bodies.
gotcha.
Yep. The psychological control Bunting exerted over his accomplices intensified with each killing. He framed participation as a test of loyalty. Doubt is equated with weakness or guilt. In interviews conducted years later, surviving associates described an atmosphere of fear, where refusal felt impossible. Mark Hayden's role.
Again, like
What up?
I was just gonna say again, like Heaven's Gate, where one psychopath talks to the other, and then the psychopath that's more crazy and more willing to be crazy than the other.
Yeah.
starts taking control and rah, barking orders and rah, fear me or I'll kill you. Be loyal to me. This is my cause, not our, but it's our cause. But it
Hmm.
was mine first.
Yeah. Mark Hayden's role grew increasingly important. He assisted in transporting bodies and helped acquire barrels. He also provided a facade of normalcy. Hayden's wife was unaware of the full extent of his involvement. This duality allowed the crimes to continue undetected. By the mid 1990s, the number of victims had grown. Among them were Elizabeth Hayden, Mark Hayden's own wife, and her children, whose deaths shocked the public when details emerged. Their unalivings demonstrated that when proximity to the perpetrators offered no protection, loyalty did not guarantee survival.
The crimes began to unravel not through sophisticated police work, but through chance and delayed suspicion. In 1999, police investigating a missing person were led to an abandoned bank vault in Snowtown. Inside, they found barrels. When opened, they revealed human remains. This discovery horrified Australia. The investigation that followed exposed the full scale of the murders. In total, 12 victims were identified. The trial, that is a big number.
Yeah, that's, like I said, rivaling Dahmer.
The trial revealed the extent of the manipulation, brutality, and moral distortion that defined the group. John Bunting was convicted of 11 murders and sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Robert Wagner was convicted of 10 unalivings, and received multiple life sentences. Mark Hayden was convicted of 3 unalivings. The documentary The documentary record includes chilling courtroom testimony. One investigator stated, "What made this case unique was not just the violence, but the way it was justified internally. They believed they were right." Psychologists who examined Bunting described him as possessing traits consistent with uh, psychopathy. Why did I read it weird? Combined with ideological extern, externalism,
Extremism.
extremism. My bad.
The legacy of the bodies in the barrels murders is not confined to the courtroom. It was forced Australia to confront uncomfortable truths about what society overlooks the vulnerable. Many victims were not reported missing promptly, some were not reported at all. Their invisibility made them targets. This documentary is not about glorifying killers, it's about understanding how ordinary settings can conceal extraordinary violence, and how ideology, when paired with control or resentment, can escalate into mass unaliving, and how silence, whether from fear or neglect, can be deadly. The barrels were eventually emptied, the vault was sealed, but the story still remains. A reminder that evil does not always announce itself loudly, sometimes it arrives quietly, wrapped in false righteousness, and waits for no one to notice who is missing. To fully understand how the bodies in the barrels unalivings escalated, it is necessary to slow the story down and examine the personal histories of both the perpetrators and the victims in greater depth. These were not faceless numbers, each life intersected with the others through coincidence, manipulation, and circumstance.
John Bunting's early life was marked by instability and resentment. Those who knew those who knew him as a teenager described him as controlling, argumentative, and deeply suspicious of authority. He developed a fixation on the idea that society was being poisoned by hidden predators, practically pedophiles. This this obsession was not supported by evidence, but it gave him a moral framework that allowed violence to feel justified. Over time, Bunting learned how to identify people who were lonely, angry, or just uncertain, and how to pull them into his worldview. Robert Wagner entered Bunting's life at a crucial moment. Wagner was socially isolated and eager for acceptance. He had limited life experience and few close relationships. Bunting offered him belonging, purpose, and certainty. In Wagner's later police interviews, he described feeling as though he was finally part of something meaningful. This emotional dependency would later become a mechanism of control.
Dude, so like, Bunting is just sounding like I don't want to say like a cult leader, but basically like a cult leader. This man was not only a broken man, but he tried giving these other broken people something to look for, to look up to.
He tried to glue those broken people together, but he was not looking how the pieces fit together.
Yeah, something like that.
Mark Hayden's involvement shocked many who knew him. Unlike Bunting and Wagner, Hayden appeared outwardly stable. He worked, maintained a household, and presented himself as a devoted father. This contrast is one of the most disturbing aspects of the case. Hayden's normalcy allowed the group to operate undetected. It also illustrates how participation in extreme violence does not always align with outward instability.
The victims were...
Oh, sorry. I didn't know. I wasn't counting.
The victims were drawn into the web one by one. David Johnson's murder in 1992 marked a turning point. He trusted Bunting completely. That trust was exploited in the most brutal way. Johnson was subjected to prolonged torture before being killed. His death established the pattern that would repeat throughout the decade: isolation, accusation, justification, and violence. Other victims included people falsely labeled as pedophiles, often based on rumor or personal grievances. In several cases, the accusations originated with Bunting himself. One labeled the victim was dehumanized within the group. This process mirrors mechanisms seen in cults and extremist movements where moral labeling is used to remove empathy. Wow, it's like I just said that or something. I don't know, man. That's crazy. Oh my god. Elizabeth Hayden's murder remains one of the most chilling elements of this case. As Mark Hayden's wife, she lived inside the world he had divided into public normalcy and private horror. Her death, along with those of her children, revealed the depth of the group's moral collapse. Loyalty offered no safety. Participation did not protect against becoming disposable. The logistics of the murders reveal a grim practicality. Barrels were acquired deliberately. Acid was not only to conceal remains, but to delay detection. Locations were chosen based on accessibility and neglect. The abandoned bank vault in Snowtown was selected precisely because it was forgotten. This was not improvisation, this was methodical concealment.
Police investigation into the case was hindered by fragmentation. Victims were reported missing at different times by different people, or not at all. Some families assumed estrangement, others lacked trust in authorities. This delay allowed the murders to continue unchecked for years. When the barrels were discovered in 1999, the shock was national. The imagery was stark and horrifying, but the deeper horror lay in the realization that the crimes could have been stopped earlier. The warning signs were present, but unconnected. Court proceedings exposed the psychological dynamics at play. Prosecutors described Bunting as the ideological engine of the group. Expert witnesses testified about coercive control, moral estrangement, and shared delusion. Defense attorneys attempted to distribute blame, but the evidence showed a clear hierarchy. John Bunting was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Robert Wagner received multiple life sentences. Mark Hayden was sentenced to life with a minimum term. Their names are now permanently associated with one of Australia's most disturbing criminal cases.
The victims' families were left to reconstruct their lives interrupted by violence and neglect. Memorials and documentaries attempt to restore names and dignity to those reduced to evidence in barrels. This restoration is essential. Without it, the stories risk centering only on the perpetrators. The bodies in the barrels unaliving force a reckoning with how society defines worth. Many victims were overlooked because they were vulnerable. Their invisibility was exploited. This is not unique to this case. It is a reoccurring pattern in crimes where perpetrators believe no one will look closely. This documentary asks the viewer to sit with discomfort, to resist the urge to simplify evil into monsters and heroes. The people involved were human. The fact that makes a story harder to accept, but more important to understand. But in the end, the barrels are only symbols, containers for a violence that grew in silence, ideology, and unchecked control. Remembering the victims means more than recounting their deaths. It means recognizing the conditions that allow them to be taken, and asking how many others disappear without anyone noticing. And then after reading all of this, you can only get one answer, and that is to take it all with a grain of salt. Thank you all for watching episode 18. It feels good to be back in our normal, regularly scheduled program. Now, I will say, I would like to do something where if you are also a small creator and have a podcast of at least 500 subs, you know what? You hit us up and we'll try to schedule something. And then on top of that, I would also like to figure out something, whether we start a Patreon or what's up, because I want to try to watch some review some documentaries, you know, like some on some of the things we talk about, because I feel like people will get it better if there's more pictures and like other people talking, and I feel like that'd be great. And then one more thing before we go. I know there was the trip we've been planning that I haven't even really told anyone about, and that was to go over to Chicago and go check out the John Wayne Gacy Museum. And I still totally plan to do that. It's just right now we got some bad weather, and I'm really
There's
not.
no way
Yeah,
there's no way I'm going to Chicago in the snow when I know it's worse in Chicago.
exactly. So that'll be a great video, I'm sure, that when that comes out. But anyway, you got any final remarks?
Other than just thank you. We really do appreciate everyone that watches these videos and likes and gives feedback and just anything at all.
Oh
It
yeah.
truly means the world. And just let us know what you want us to do. That'd be a big help.
Oh yeah.
But I got nothing else.
All right. Well, I say we can wrap it up.
Peace out.